Welcome to the Wanderers History Podcast and to a bit of a surprise episode that I've wanted to do a bit spontaneously, given that this week I was able to meet one of my musical heroes. And that would be a bit of an understatement because ever since I was teenager in high school, but also ever since I've started studying history, early modern history, Ottoman, Venetian, and of the Mediterranean, I've always been one of the biggest fans of Jordi Savall, the Catalan conductor, composer, viola player, and part of the Edinburgh International Festival in 2022. He did two concerts in Edinburgh. He did one about Ibn Battuta, and the other one, which was Istanbul, Dimitri Cantemir's work. So as a result, I want to do two videos. The first one about the concert that he, with his superb ensemble, Hesperion, were at Usher Hall on Wednesday evening. And I'll want to talk about this absolutely phenomenal book, which also has a CD, two CDs in it. So just to give a bit of context, Jordi Savall was born in August 1941, and he has been one of the major figures in the field of Western early modern music since, I would say, the 1970s, and he popularized a lot of instruments, the viol family of instruments, viola da gamba being one of them. So he's also a historian of early modern music, and his repertoire is absolutely amazing. From, say, Ottoman music of Dimitri Cantemir to the Celtic viola. I think that's one of the concerts he did in Glasgow a few years ago, to Italian, Spanish, Baroque music of North Africa. And I think one of the most impressive bodies of work of his is how, through the life and history and story of Ibn Battuta, the traveler of Islam, he managed to combine so many different styles within a single concert. Absolutely impressive. And I think it was the orchestra on Wednesday with the show of Ibn Battuta was about, I would say, just over a dozen performers, all of them absolutely impressive. And we've got some of the best musicians in the world who could play very, very impressive instruments like the oud. And I think they didn't have a teorbo in here, but it looked like special mandolins and lutes and phenomenal instruments that you would want to see more in a museum as well. So given this was it was a unique opportunity, especially after COVID. We didn't have any festivals for a while and any shows. When I saw this was happening, I immediately booked it, and it was by far one of the best concerting experiences in my life. Comparable to the one I would say before this was when I saw Ennio Morricone in, I think it was 2015 in Nîmes, southern France. But this had a whole new meaning to it because as I was writing my dissertations, my undergrad and postgrad, there's been tens, hundreds of hours of just listening to his music, and they've always kind of guided me through some quite difficult moments academically. And I always find comfort listening to his music. So as you can see, this is it's a gorgeous book over here. And the quality is impressive. It's, of course, Alia Vox. It's the record that distributes the work of Jordi Savall and I think Hesperion as well. And we've got also the names of other performers that I can just... So you can see the names here, phenomenal musicians. And once you open the book, it's just like, just look at that. It's absolutely gorgeous, vivid colors, the medieval styles. The CD, the first one, is over here, incorporated. I'll just take that out so you can have a look of it. I I do listen to a lot of my music on, streaming platforms like Spotify and others, but there's something I love about just having a CD, and I think they've got this on vinyl as well, which is I don't have the player here. It's back home in Romania, and but it wouldn't be it would be about £30, which would be roughly 36 euros for that. So the great thing about this book is that apart from its beautiful coloring and images and all of that, and that is something I'll treasure. That's the signature that he provided, and I managed to speak with him for about a minute after the show on Wednesday. The great thing about this book is that you've got basically texts in French, English, Spanish, even like Catalan, German, Italian, Arabic as well. And this is basically one of the concerts, but I can't remember. It doesn't say the year. So the ensemble was a bit different this time. But I would say about 80% of the performers were in this one as well. Phenomenal voices. Their technique is something out of this world. And Usher Hall in Edinburgh, the acoustics of the main hall are absolutely tremendous. I remember going there years ago, about 4 years ago. There was a Shostakovich piano concert, and it was just tremendous. Anything to do with classical music in Usher Hall is always bound to be phenomenally good. So we've got here the list. It's a show that combines narration with songs, and even the great thing about Jordi Savall is that he will have moments of improvisation. So you see the script here and at the back of the book, so CD1 and CD2. But it wasn't because I was looking at this and some songs were skipped and there was something else in the script, so to speak, of the movie. So in Battuta was basically Marco Polo before Marco Polo. And it's quite interesting because with the narration, you will have events in which you will hear that, the year when Marco Polo died. You will hear about events in Central Asia or in Constantinople, things that make this a story of a century, not just of a traveler from 1304 to 1377. So the first CD covers the period of 1304 till 1335, and the second one from 35 to 1377. And as you can see, it's an amazing journey that goes from Tangier to Mali to, we have 1324, the death of Marco Polo, then Morocco, Egypt, Cairo, Jerusalem, Damascus. Then it goes to Oman, to Mecca, and Iraq, Persia, Yemen, Zanzibar, the Persian Gulf, Anatolia, Ukraine, Constantinople, and then from there to Central Asia, to the realms, to the lands of what would be today Uzbekistan and Turkmenistan. And you can imagine having the map in your head and think to yourself, this would be the very early 14th century. For someone to travel this much and this long, it's one of those things that are beyond impressive. By foot alone, caravans, camels, all of that. And the performers put so much soul in this, from the narrator to the ones who are singing and performing, that you actually feel like you are part of the journey, which is very impressive. And he does that as well, Savall, and his musical group with Istanbul, Dimitri Cantemir. It makes you feel, once you're sitting and listening to the music, it's almost like you are in the place and you're a companion to Battuta, or with Cantemir's case, and I'll talk more about this in the next clip. It's absolutely it's literally an experience. And the second CD, then it goes to what would be Kabul, Afghanistan, follows the path towards Southeast Asia and China. Then there's the great return to Morocco and Baghdad and Aleppo in 1348. But there's also a very interesting section with the Mediterranean, and that's where I think it kind of fits in a way, because we are, with the podcast right now, we're talking about the Traveler's Diaries, and albeit this is the 16th century Mediterranean that I'm talking about in the current series, and this is the 14th century. It's a very interesting dynamic in how he describes. He goes to Sardinia and notices the beauty of the place, and suddenly the tone of the show changes from like Oriental, Arabic, African, Asian motifs and tones. It changes to what would be very early European classical music, like a choir and like a motet, and something you would very typical Italian, not like early Renaissance Italian music, quite similar to that. And it's quite striking, because you are in a different place. You are traveling with Battuta, who would be in Sardinia, then tells the great stories about Granada, and ultimately you reach towards the last stages of his life. And the last song, which was like Mort di Battuta, it's a lamentation, which would be, it's kind of like a wake song. You're like attending the funeral of this amazing traveler, and it's very solemn, the atmosphere, and you kind of feel like this is the end of something spectacular, which very few people throughout history were able to achieve. And that would be that was the show, more or less. There was, I would say, what you see over here, we listened to about 80-85% of the show, and it was very beautiful. Like Jordi Savall, towards the end, I've never seen a standing ovation that long. Was over 10 minutes, if not like 15 minutes. And he said something, just paraphrasing here, that music is one of the few things that can bring people and countries together and understanding. And he also said something to the tune of, music is so important because it cannot lie. When you listen to the music, it's there, it's the truth. And I believe that is so incredibly powerful, because within the space of, say, 2 hours, you basically had a global performance stretching from the Far East in China to the Middle East to the Levant to the Mediterranean to parts of Africa, and what was just a very beautiful performance, all in all. And he even towards the end he gave it was, I can't remember exactly. It was basically an Ave Maria, but it was a version of I think it was a Portuguese traveler who went to Japan as a missionary, and he was also a musician. So it was an Ave Maria in a very different but beautiful style, and it was dedicated to the women of Ukraine. So this was, and he condemned, of course, the horrific situation which is currently undergoing in Ukraine and that hideous war. So, and you could tell that he felt every single word that he said. And is that word, like, never meet your heroes? I am incredibly happy and honored to have met someone like him, basically an encyclopedia of music and history of music, and those performers as well. It was, I cannot wait for the next time to see him, and he's got so many different concerts, the Spirit of Armenia, so many others that I hope next year, all things being good with traveling and no restrictions and whatnot, because it's something out of this world. And I recommend to all of my listeners and to whoever is listening to this to just if he is nearby in your city, country, whatever, please go and see him, because this is the sort of beautiful history and music that you will treasure and value for the rest of your life, like I am doing just now. So yes, all in all, a spectacular event. Deeply grateful and honored to have attended and to have this beautiful book right now with the CDs. And indeed, thank you for listening to this. It's a bit of a improv episode. Thanks for listening. Subscribe to the channel, and I will be back soon with a review of the second concert that he had at Queen's Hall in Edinburgh as well. Istanbul, Dimitri Cantemir, 1673-1723. So stay tuned for that. Thank you for listening, and until the next time, all the best.